The Museum of Innocence greets you with a showcase full of cigarette butts. They are pinned to the wall like bugs in a natural science museum. And as if you were in a proper museum, there is also a video display unveiling their origins, as if the video could serve as the ultimate proof of their belonging to the world of hard facts rather than the world of mental obsessions. In the same way as the existence of an animal could not only be proven by a mere footprint, it would have to be supported with a trail camera footage. As you go upstairs, the cigarette stubs keep staring you in the back, as if in a silent reproach for you not having studied each of them in due detail and not having appreciated their true significance. Upstairs, you find yourself immersed into someone's obsessive memories. It starts with what memories are usually associated with: family photos, brief visions of strangers' faces and cultural idols, objects you have briefly seen merging with scenes from the movies you have watched. But then, things get more surreal. Cultural codes and the insecurity of living take over, and all of a sudden, your daily food ration turns into 17th century still life, or your breakfast erupts like a volcano. It goes on like this, until suddenly, at the very top of the stairs, you find yourself in the peace and quiet of a child's bedroom, the serene cradle of what will come later in life. What I like about this museum is that it is very honest, despite its odd look and feel. Proper museums claim to be telling you the real story, but they never admit that in fact they are just feeding you a narrative, a purposefully constructed statement delivered in objects and images. Unlike them, the Museum of Innocence is 100% sincere. It delivers exactly what it promises, a story of a human's mind, and that's what makes it so credible. Simple Methods Grammar is about making your grammar stand out and shine. When you speak about simple everyday stuff, it is easy to slide into only using elementary grammar. In these videos, I show you how to avoid this trap and use more advanced grammar even with everyday topics. It is all about expanding the context. Okay, what does expanding the context mean anyway? Simply put, it means you don't just talk about one thing, but you also connect it to other things. One way to do this is by comparing and contrasting. So today, let's look at how we can compare ideas in different ways. When you hear the word comparison, most probably you remember the simple stuff like bigger, better, faster, or more expensive, less expensive. These are great for comparing one thing to another based on just one characteristic, like in this example. But then, things get more surreal. This tells us that the place was already surreal before, but later it became even more surreal. This is the basic way to compare things. It gets more difficult when you want to compare things, but there is no one particular characteristic to base your comparison on. There could be a similarity in behavior, or pattern, or shape, and you compare them as a whole. And then you use like for similarities, or unlike for differences. Like here, they're pinned to the wall like bugs in a natural science museum. Here, or your breakfast erupts like a volcano. And here, unlike them, the Museum of Innocence is 100% sincere. Like is good when you compare the whole thing to a whole thing. That's why after like, you will most often use a noun, a word that stands for a thing or an object. If you want to involve an action, or say that your impressions of a situation are similar to impressions of different situations, or that now you're getting a feeling that reminds you of another context, you use as if. Like here. And as if you were in a proper museum, there is also a video display. And like here. As if the video could serve as the ultimate proof of their belonging to the world of hard facts. Grammar with as if is more complex. We usually use a clause after it. It means that there is a subject and a verb. Sometimes, when you are lucky, you can replace a clause with a prepositional phrase like here. The cigarette stubs keep staring you in the back, as if in a silent reproach for you not having studied each of them in due detail. The phrase as if in reproach could replace a longer option, as if they were reproaching. But if you think that I chose the shorter expression because I just wanted to have a one-word shorter sentence, you're wrong. By using the prepositional phrase, I ended up with a sentence which is a whole clause simpler. If two things are similar in behavior or in performance, you can use the expression in the same way as, like here. In the same way as the existence of an animal could not only be proven by a mere footprint, in the same way as if, this phrase is followed by a clause which is a subject and a verb pair. Don't forget that the comparison is not only about similarities, it can also be about contrast and contradiction. Remember unlike from here. Unlike them, the Museum of Innocence is 100% sincere. In addition to this, you can also use despite to show that there is a contradiction between your expectations and the reality. Like in this example. It is very honest, despite its odd look and feel. In this particular case, the odd look and feel of the museum could have formed expectations of there being a trap or deceit involved. However, the reality was different, and the museum was very honest and sincere. If your ambition goes further than mere contrasting, and you want to substitute one thing for another altogether, you can use rather than. Its basic functional meaning is but not, like here, proof of their belonging to the world of hard facts rather than the world of mental obsessions. Replace rather than with but not in your mind, and you will easily get the idea. So next time you talk about some simple matters, remember to compare and contrast them to other things. Expand the context and let your grammar shine.